Hi, I'm Chris Cooper. Welcome to the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Thanks for joining us. Spring Fling, the Memphis Area Master Gardener's big event, is just around the corner. So today, we're going to give you a sneak preview and show you how to make mini hypertufa. And Walter Battle is here with some tips on getting our vegetable gardens in shape for spring planting. All that and more is coming up next on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. So stay with us.
This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Goodwin's Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today are Master Gardeners Callie Boyard.
Hi, Chris.
Carol Watkins.
Hi, Chris.
Thank you, ladies, for joining me. Okay, we're going to talk about spring fling. So, Miss Carol, what do we need to know? Date, location, times?
Well,
Let's tell the people.
Spring Fling, that's the Memphis Area Master Gardeners' 10th Garden Festival.
Okay.
And it's going to be Friday and Saturday, March the 21st and 22nd at the Agri Center Red Barn.
Okay.
Be from 9 to 5 both days.
Both days, okay. What about admission? Is it free or do they have to pay?
It's free
That's
for the whole family. So it's a great event, and we hope everybody comes out.
Good, we like free. All right, so we definitely hope that you come out. Now, Miss Callie, I understand you're going to be making mini hypertufa.
That's right.
Okay. Now, is this something you're going to do, or are people going to be able to do it themselves, or how does that work?
Well, we were going to demonstrate it, but the spring fling grew so much that I was bumped off the demonstration table, which is fine with me, and I'm going to demonstrate it right here. Okay. We're going to have some of these little mini hypertufas. This little plant is a bromeliad, and we obtained a bunch of them, and they're also in my little fairy garden here. And these are bromeliads too, so we decided to come up with a little mini hypertufa. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to get one of these if you'd like to buy one. It's a do-it-yourself mini tufa bag. And inside the mini tufa bag, this is what you get.
That's pretty neat. It's a do-it-yourself.
Well, we always like to involve the public.
Right.
Teach them something new. Okay. Get them involved with what we're doing with Master Gardening. The neat thing about hypertufa is that it's an artificial rock. It could be made in many different sizes. All you need is a mold, and you can make whatever kind of pot you want to make. Okay. So we've got our medium. It's vermiculite, Portland cement, and some peat moss, and it's all mixed up. So all you have to do is follow the directions right here. They're right here.
Okay.
You've got to follow them.
Right. Follow the directions.
What I've done was I've mixed up this mix right here with the water, and I've mixed it with a stick. You don't want to use a lot of a good pot or a good spoon because it will dry.
And let me ask you this, how much water do we need to put in there?
Well, I wrote on the directions 1 to 2, but you're not going to use all of the water. Okay. You're going to make sure that the consistency is that of, let me get you some.
Now, like 1 to 2 what?
Cups of water.
Cups. Cups
of water. You want it to be wet enough where it holds, but not wet where it's dripping. Okay. And you want it the consistency of like cottage cheese. So what you're going to do is once you mix it up, you just throw it in here. And I'm going to use my hand, although it says to use gloves. All right. You're just going to put it in here like this.
You forgot to bring those gloves.
I did, I know. I'm not a good instruction person. And once you do that, you're going to, with your finger, with a, whatever you want, a spoon, you can dig out the length, the distance, the size of what you want to make the hole. Okay. You're going to wrap it, and it's going to be a little wet. So you don't want it too wet, but you just put your finger in there, make a hole, put a spoon in there, make a hole. You're going to put it in a bag, wrap it up like this, and put it on the shelf somewhere Wait 24 hours.
24 hours.
24 hours. You're going to bring it back, take a look. You're going to feel it, and then you're going to just it's dry.
It's dry.
Dry. Yes, it is. And you can just rip off the container. I mean, I put this one in here, but you can rip off the container, and here's your little mini tufa. And that's what this looks like right there. And we'll be selling these mini hyper tufas, or you can buy the bag and make it yourself.
And you will be supplying the bromeliads, or somebody else will be doing that?
We have that at our craft booth. We have made bird houses. We have a committee of craft people that are really talented, and we've made fairy gardens, which are very popular.
Okay. Let's take a look at that fairy garden.
There you go. And what this is, it's another bromeliad,
Okay.
and it's a different kind. And we call them air plants.
Air plants.
So all you need to do to take care of an air plant is just spritz it with water 1 time a week.
Okay.
And you can buy little benches at different places. You can buy the chickens, rocks I picked up from the ground. And you've got your own little Hypertufa mini fairy garden also. We also have the bird feeder, and you can put a hook on that. And,
Oh, that's the bird feeder. Okay.
and we made it real pretty. And we've got some wreaths and some sayings, and I hope you'll come out and join us in the Master Craft booth. We've got a lot of vendors, a lot of plant vendors, so even if you want to buy the kit, we have a sedum vendor I know of that will be there. And we have a pond guy coming out to show us some waterless ponds.
Okay.
We have our
Well,
bunch of people.
vendors, we have.
Yeah, let's talk about those.
Let's do. We have really well-known regional nurseries and gardens. We have handmade birdhouses.
That's right. we do.
Right? I think he comes every year, and we have metal yard art. We have outdoor furniture and accessories. We have stepping stones, decorative pots, and you know, we have plants, and more
Yes.
plants. So we
Yes.
have lots of plants for sale.
And I like to tell everybody, these are good plants because they're from Master Gardeners.
Wow. So
They're
they've been
not
taken
from
care
nurseries.
of.
They really
Right.
have. They really have.
And you get them for a really good price.
Sure do.
And will those plants be labeled so people know what they are?
They are. They are. In fact, I can't remember all the information that's on the label, but it'll be the Latin name and the common name and how to take care of it,
Good.
whether it needs sun or shade.
Good, good. That should help the people out a lot. Now, what about kids? What are the kids going to be doing at Spring Fling?
We are real excited this year about the kids area, the youth area. We've actually expanded that area, and we have over 17 activities for the kids.
17.
Yes,
All right.
it's. I didn't bring that list, but you can actually see it on our website,
Okay.
MemphisAreaMasterGardeners.org,
Okay.
and you can see all the information about Spring Fling.
All right. Yeah, we got to get the kids involved.
They're always involved.
The Master Gardeners of tomorrow, so they
That's
call the little
right.
kids.
We'll have a balloon lady who's making little insects and creatures that the kids can watch her and then take them home.
Those were cool. I saw that last year. Yeah, I think I wanted one. Those are pretty cool. Now, let me ask you about this. What about speakers? Let's talk about some of the speakers that we're going to have.
Speakers. We have almost 20 speakers and demonstrations going on at the
Okay.
Spring Fling. We have James Farmer. He's a national garden designer and author of A Time to Plant. We have Cindy Shapton, and she is an herb farm owner and the author of The Cracked Pot Gardener.
Okay.
Ben Smith, the owner and chef of Tsunami, will be there, and
Yeah.
he'll be showing us how to cook local produce. We've got Emily Lux from Whole Foods.
Okay.
And Bonnie Della Schmidt from Lacole Culinary School.
Okay.
And
That's
both-
right here in town.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
And they'll be showing us how also to cook our fresh produce. So the theme of Spring Fling is get out and grow.
Yeah.
So we're talking about vegetable gardening, we're talking about cooking, we're talking about buying produce and then learning how to cook it and serve it to your family. And of course, Dale Skaggs will
Yeah.
be here from the Director of Horticulture at the Dixon. He'll be talking to us about new plants and old standbys. And of course, you, Dr. Cooper,
wow. How about that?
you'll be talking about managing a smart yard.
Good.
Did you know you were talking about that?
I do now. No, I know. I do, and I'm looking forward to it too. Yes.
And the demos, we have master gardeners that will be doing demos in a special demo tent. We've got drip irrigation, learning about different garden tools and how to take care of them. We have perennials, how to plant and divide them.
Okay.
I'm always needing more information on that. Terrariums, building terrariums, herb garden designs. We've got inviting your birds into your backyard.
Okay, well, it sounds like a lot of good events and activities. Website, one more time.
The website, memphisareamastergardeners.org.
All right. We look forward to seeing you guys there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. All right, Walter Battle is here. Walter is the county director in Haywood County, and he's our resident vegetable guy. How about that?
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
All right. Well, look, let's educate our people on vegetable gardens. We have some
Okay.
questions here that I'm going to ask. So what are some of the things we need to be doing this time of the year in our vegetable gardens?
Okay, right now, for those who use herbicides,
Okay.
we need to be spraying our non-selective type herbicide, something that contains glyphosate,
Okay.
to kill off all those old, weeds that winter that's been kind of hanging around.
Yeah.
And then after you do that, you'll also want to put down something, some type of pre-emergent, probably contains trifluralin in it. And by the way, for organic gardeners, there is a product made by Preen,
Sure
a
is.
pre-emergent that's organic. For
Right, and it
organic
contains
growers.
corn gluten meal.
That's right. That's right.
Uh-huh.
So then they can use that, and that'll work.
Okay, and that'll work for them. Get rid of all of that old henbit and chickweed that's out there right
dead
now.
nettle and all that stuff. And you can eat some of those as well.
Yes, you can eat them as a salad. Yeah.
That might be a way
We've
to
actually
get rid
tried
of
some of that here.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So
Okay.
hey,
Now let's talk about wildlife damage. We get a lot of those questions at the office. I'm sure you are too.
Yes.
So how do we deal with the rabbits and the deer and everything else?
Well, let me focus on deer for
Okay,
right
let's talk
now,
about the deer.
because we get a lot of that. And this is what I've been told, that you can use, and we tried this at the Maryland Experiment Station.
Okay.
You can use fragrant soaps. Now, that'll be something probably like Irish Spring, Coast, something that really gives off a fragrance. Now, the thing with that is, I'm pretty sure that it kind of, wears off over time, so you might have to go out there and put another bar or two out there in the process. Now, another thing that we also get a lot of calls on is raccoons. We get a lot of that. And one thing that I tell people later on this summer is to plant pumpkins around your garden, because pumpkins have those spiny vines. And the raccoons, which have very tender feet, they kind of hate to walk across those vines. So that's kind of one way you can kind of minimize their damage.
Okay, I've actually heard that before too. Yeah, because they have the tender paws.
Real tender paws.
Okay, so that'll be your wildlife damage. Okay.
Yes.
Now, what about the major early season pests that we need to look out for? And I'm sure that's pests, plural. Because there's going to be a lot of those out there.
Basically, it's two for right now.
Okay.
Aphids would be one, because they can survive cold temperatures pretty decent. So and all you have to do as far as they're concerned is you can't just wash them off or whatever. But the other one is the cutworm. And we will be planting our sweet corn pretty soon. And when you go out there and you find a lot of sweet corn stalks that's just laid over from the night before, if you dig around the base, you're going to find this little, probably about 1.5 inch worm that's going to be laying there. And basically, they do this activity at night, by the way. And when you dig it up, just squash him, and and he won't be a problem anymore. So that's what I tell people to do. You just have to sacrifice a few plants, dig up the ones that's doing it, and that'll take care of the problem.
And here's the thing about them too, they make clean cuts.
Yes.
You know
Oh,
what I'm
man. I mean, it's just, you couldn't do it better with some pruners. I mean,
Clean
it's awesome.
cuts. And they will do that to your tomato plants.
Yes. They'll do
as
tomatoes
well.
and peppers.
And
as well.
peppers, that's right. They sure will. Okay, what practice are you going to urge gardeners to do this year?
This year, I'm really going to focus on teaching about IPM practices. Basically, something that started in field crops, but I'm going to bring it down more to the home garden level.
Okay,
And
well,
what
since
it
we're going to
stands
break it
for.
down to the home garden level, what's IPM?
Okay, it stands for Integrated Pest Management.
Right, okay.
And what it really involves is scouting your garden. Make sure that you're out there every day or so looking for bugs, looking for egg masses. And the benefits of it is that you'll get ahead of your diseases, your insects, and that'll kind of, make you make more timely, appropriate sprays, so to speak, and that can kind of limit a lot of the chemicals that we use because we won't be just using them at random.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm going to really teach about.
And that's good, because there are a lot of people out there that don't want to use a lot of chemicals.
That's right.
So.
I don't like using a lot of chemicals, but before I lose a crop, I will do it. Some years I can get the crops through, my garden through without using chemicals. Some years I can't. Just kind of depends on the year-to-year basis.
Okay. All right. So what are some easy, sustainable practices that we need to implement?
Well, again, one, of course, would be the IPM and, and scouting. Another one would also be, cleaning your garden out real good, tilling at a proper time, when the soil temperatures are warm. All those are good practices. Not planting things too early or too late. And just, using, things that prevent things from happening, such as mulch, which will control your weeds, keep the temperature appropriate. Those are some good sustainable practices. Limit your water use. I like to see people use soaker hoses. And also, if you're going to use overhead irrigation, a good old pie pan. It's a great technique here. Just take you a bunch of 1-inch pie pans, place them throughout your garden, turn on your irrigation system, and when those pans fill up, guess what? You put down the inch of water.
Yeah.
So that's just an easy, cheap way to do that.
How about that?
That's a good sustainable practice.
Old pie pans.
Yes.
Seen that out in the country.
That's right. Eat the pie, then you
There you go. All right, look, we got about a minute for this last one.
Okay, yes.
And which is a good one. Frost protection for plants. It's been a cold winter this time.
It has.
So frost protection.
And those who know me know that I'm very frugal with money. I use pie pans, right? What I use a lot of times, I'll take a gallon milk jug once I set my tomato plants out, whatever. And on nights that we suspect frost and all that, I just simply cut those jugs in half and place them over my plants. As the plants get a little bigger, I might go to a 5-gallon bucket. So it just kind of depends on the situation. Now, I have also used, in things that are planted in a group, I have a big tarpodium that I carry out there. Okay. And, my neighbors fuss about my yard looking a little bad sometimes, but once the vegetables start growing, I start giving them vegetables, they're happy with me then.
They're pretty happy with it?
Yes, they're pretty happy with me then.
Okay, well, thanks for the information, Walter. That's real good. Frugal. That's the word.
That's frugal.
Okay. Here's our Q&A session, and ladies, feel free to join us. Okay? All right, here's the first question. Why do the flowers of my daffodils become smaller each year? And that's the question we get this time of the year because the daffodils are actually up.
That's right. Yeah. That's why I saw mine peeping through just
Mine are coming
the
up
other day. Well, basically, it really can be excessive nitrogen can cause this. Also, it would be interesting because I know daffodils do not like a lot of water. And I know last year we did have, a lot of rain last year. So I don't know if that could have played a role in it as well. And also, it could be a calcium deficiency there. Because when you think about it, daffodils tend to grow around limestone rock. You found them a lot up here in Middle Tennessee around those areas. So I would imagine it could be that.
Okay. And I'm going to throw this one out there, too. It could be overcrowding.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
I guess good.
You know, if they've been in the ground 5 or 6 years, you hadn't divided them, then that's going to be the problem. Okay. Of course, those flowers each year are going to get smaller and smaller because they're growing more and more bulbs.
That's right. That's
So
right.
could be overcrowding, and you might want to go ahead and divide those.
Yes.
So do you ladies have daffodils at home? Are your daffodils?
We have.
Our whole neighborhood is full of daffodils. And I've thought about that because I just moved into this neighborhood and I have no idea if my bulbs have been divided anytime soon. So that's something I need to think about.
Yeah, you will find out here pretty soon, you know, when they come up.
Is there a test you can take for the soil to see if there's too much calcium? Or
What
do
a
you
soil
just-
test?
How do you know? I mean,
oh yes, your basic soil
how would you
test.
know what?
And then of course the soils lab will send you back the results, and it will let you know if you need to lime it or if it doesn't need lime, as well as the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium levels.
Yeah, so you could do that, which is something that we definitely do recommend. I say it a lot on
why
this
I
show.
asked.
Soil test.
That's right.
Why gas soil test? Okay, here's our next question. The tops of my houseplant pots are coated with a crust. What is that? What do you think that is?
Well, it could be some type of calcified materials, and also it could be some type of salts
Yeah,
that
that's
are
what
built
I'm
up.
thinking it is.
I would just recommend just changing the soil since it seems like it's a houseplant type scenario. That might be the answer.
Yeah, I have houseplants at home, and what happens is if you fertilize them, fertilizers are just salt. Yeah. So that, you know, once it dries out, it's going to leave that little
They
ring or
leach out.
crust, or, you know, right around that pot. And what you could do is, you know, when I go up to the next pot size, I just drop it in some warm water and just kind of clean it up. I mean, do you anything different, ladies?
Leach leach
Yeah.
everything out of it
Yeah.
because that's what it is. It's a buildup of salt, so you need to leach it out.
Right. And I give mine a real good flush. Is what I do right over the sink. Just kind of let the water run right
Exactly.
through it.
That's what I
Clean
usually
it up.
do. Use a sponge and just even clean off the leaves and everything every once in a while.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want your leaves to touch that salt.
Right, I guess that's right.
Yeah, because it, you know, it'll cause that leaf to die. Because it is salt, and salt actually draws water, you know, from tissue that has water in it. So, all right, here's the next question. I have these green-looking bugs all over my collards. Miss Callie, what is it, and how do I get rid of them? Because we don't want them on our collards. We don't want to cook them.
No.
They have the green bugs on them. Well,
Well, it could be extra protein. I don't know. I don't know. No, we do not want to eat them. I'm pretty sure it's aphids.
Yeah,
And you can just take your garden hose and just spray them off. But for those who want to go the chemical route, malathion will knock them out. But let me tell you this, it's going to be a 7-day
Right.
harvest restriction on them.
Yeah.
So just, you know, read the label.
Read
As
the
always,
label.
read your label. But just kind of remember that, and you'll be fine.
read the label on that. I can get you something else too that could work. Insecticidal soap, you know, will work fairly well for your aphids. Again, just a heavy stream of water, just knock them off. I mean, that way you don't have to worry about chemicals or anything
Right.
else like that.
That's right.
And while we have a little time left, let's go back to the IPM practice, which is why it's good to look underneath the leaves.
That's right.
Because that's
right.
where a lot
That's
of
right.
your bugs hang out at.
Exactly.
I mean, they're smart.
That's right.
You
You
That's
know,
right.
so you're gonna spray over the top, and guess what? It's just gonna go right under the bottom and just kind of hide out, and then they'll come back once you finish. So, could you expound just a little bit more on that?
Well, yes, it's also like that even with your shrubbery.
Yeah.
Always, you know, I always spray from the bottom up.
Right.
I take my sprayer and, you know, whenever I need to spray my azaleas or whatever, and because like I said, they're smart. That they're going to hang out where they can't be seen. They're going to hide out where the ladybugs can't find them.
Right.
Yes, and also looking at sustainability, I would like to expound on it just a little bit more. In that, you know, they give us these great statistics all the time that by the year 2050, food production must double. And they say that 70% of that will be taken care of with technological advancements. So we have to be sustainable.
Yeah.
You know, and that starts even with the home garden stuff as well as the big major crop production systems. So we need to look at ways to be sustainable and kind of knock down some of this resistance and all that we see building up with fungicides and insecticides and things.
Yeah. We're gonna have to learn to be sustainable.
Yes.
Because over in California, they're having problems with droughts, And of course, that raises the prices on our fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
All right, well, thanks everybody, we're out of time. Remember, we'd love to hear from you. Send us a letter or an email with your gardening questions. Send your email to familyplot@wkno.org. The mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next time for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Good Winds Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.